We're going to kick off the OWASP Top 10 by looking at injection. This is the number one risk, and as you'll see, it is a particularly nasty risk that can have some very severe consequences. Let's take a look at the matrix of attack vector, security weakness, and technical impacts. Now, first of all, the exploitability of a SQL injection attack can be extremely easy. There are automated tools that simply allow you to paste a URL in and let the tool go and extract data from the system. It can be that simple. I have a video where I show my 3-year-old how to do it. That's how easy SQL injection can be. It's also very prevalent, and this is one of the things that puts it up in the number one spot. Now combine that with the fact that the detectability is average. It's not a dead easy risk to find. It's not real hard either, but it does take some probing of the system to discover a risk. The impact is severe. This is about as bad as it gets, because a SQL injection attack can lead to the complete and utter compromise of the database. It can mean that everything in the database gets exposed publicly, and it can also mean that an attacker can modify or destroy anything within the database. This is nasty. Let's take a look at how an injection attack would work. And in this scenario, I'm going to have an attacker who's going to hit a website to then illegally access data in the database. Now, in a case like this, we're probably looking at SQL injection. That's an important distinction. Injection is not always SQL injection. You could have injection of another queryable system. So, for example, you could have LDAP injection. SQL is the big one that pops up a lot though, and that's the one we're going to focus on here. And indeed, that's where one of the biggest risks is due to the prevalence of SQL databases sitting behind applications at risk. So let's imagine we have our attacker. Now this attacker is going to issue a malicious request. It's important to understand that this is normally just an HTTP request, and the malicious payload might be part of the query string or might be part of a form variable posted to the website. All the attacker's done is manipulate part of an otherwise legitimate request. Now, the website takes that request and it converts it into a query. What the attacker is trying to do in a SQL injection attack is modify that query such that it performs an action in the database that it was not originally intended to do. So, for example, accesses data that the page they hit was not actually designed to do. Now, the database gets that query and it responds with an output. If the attack is successful, that output is going to contain data that the system was not designed to expose, at least not in this context. Now, once the website gets the response to the query, it can then exfiltrate that data back to the attacker. Now, when I say exfiltrate, that can be as simple as results appearing on a web page. The attacker has simply formed their request such that the modified query accessed data it wasn't meant to and put it into the HTML that the attacker simply retrieves directly from the web page. Now, there are multiple flavors of SQL injection. There's things like error-based injection, union-based injection, blind injection, and I go into a lot of detail on these injection techniques in my Hack Yourself First course. So that's a good resource if you really want detail. Let's move on though and just have a very high level view of what it looks like to construct a SQL injection attack.